everyone, I'm Allie. Make this quick yet complicated looking pair of Helen earrings with me. If you need any materials, go ahead and look below the video in the description to shop with us online. So we're going to begin our project on the interior, and then we're going to work toward the exterior. You'll notice that the Tilas are sitting almost like they're nestling the pearl in the interior. So I have 6mm pearls, 4mm bicones, my Miyuki Tilas. I have some Toho 11-0s and some Miyuki Toho 8-0s and Miyuki 11-0s, along with some wire guards and ear wires. I'm using a size 11 needle with some 0.006 green dragon thread. I'm going to start, like I said, on the interior, and what we're going to do is create this interior block. The interior block is going to begin with a Tila bead, then an 11-0, followed by another Tila bead. From there, we're going to grab a 4mm bicone. I'm just holding this, and then we're going to repeat. So I'm going to grab a Tila, 11, Tila, and my bicone. I'm going to let that drop down toward the bottom of the piece. And then what I'm going to do is tie this into a knot. If you want to do a bead stopper, you can totally do that. I'm doing a knot because I want it to be fairly tight in order to keep its shape. So I'm going to do just that square knot, right over left, twist it left over right, and give that nice knot. You can see that already the Tilas kind of want to turn a little bit, and those 4mm will sit to the side of this little basket design. From here, we're going to go and step up. We're going to go to the exterior of the design and add in some of our 11-0s and our 8-0s as we catch on the second hole of the Tila bead. So to step up, what that means is that we're going to go to another hole, or we're going to add our next row of beads. With multi-hole beads, usually it means we're going to go through the first hole of one bead, and then we're going to reverse the thread and go the opposite way, turning the thread into the second hole. You're going to see a tiny bit of thread on the side, but because I'm using the matte opaque turquoise green AB green thread, you're really not going to see it much. From here, we are going to add 3 11s and 1 8, followed by 3 11s on the exterior of the bicones, and then we're just adding 1 11, 1 8, 1 11 in between the Tila beads. That's going to give us that little bit of diamond shape. So I'm coming out here on top of, or next to rather, one of my diamonds. So again, 3 11s, followed by one of my 8-0s, followed by 3 11s. Take your thread and needle then into the next Tila, into the second hole, because we're going around and we're connecting to that second hole. In here, when you're between the Tilas, above the 11-0, another 11-0, 8, 11-0, and then once again through the next Tila. So we're just catching on to those second holes. Here again, to get that shape, 1, 2, 3 11s, 1 8, 1, 2, 3 11s through your next Tila as well. Once you're through there, here on the side, 11, 8, 11, through that secondary Tila. And then I'm going to go up the whole way through the first 3 11-0s to kind of lock in that pattern, and out through that 8-0 seed bead. What that's going to do when you're looking at it then is bring you into that original diamond basket shape that's going to hold in our Tila bead and hold in our pearl in the middle, and then we're going to go around the exterior and pick up some beads. Next, what we're going to do is turn the corner. So we're going to connect to all of the 8-0 seed beads that went to the exterior of those Tilas. And I'm going to add onto my thread and needle, coming out that 8-0 at the top, an 11-0 seed bead, followed by a 6mm pearl, 2 11s, a 4mm, and then one more 11-0 seed bead. I'm going to then sew into just that 8-0 seed bead that's next in line around the corner. Give a nice tight pull, and you're going to do the same thing but backwards. So we're doing 1 11-0, followed by a 4mm, followed by 2 11s, then a 6mm pearl, and then 1 11-0 seed bead. Once again, go down to the bottom now and sew through just that 8-0 seed bead. I'm going to continue that same pattern back up to the top, reversing it each time as we go. That pearl 11 or 11 pearl, 2 11s, one of my crystals, 1 11, and then through the 8mm pearl. If you do any variations in size or beads, make sure to comment below because that helps other beaders that may be making the design to make decisions based on what materials they have on hand, or maybe to change it up and get a different look to it. So coming out of the 8/0 that's in between the Tila beads, I have 1 11, 1 crystal, 2 11s, followed by one of my 6mm pearls and 1 11, and then back to that top 8/0. Going to give that nice tight pull, and you can see that gives a nice tight square looking bezel for everything to fit into. We're going to do a little pearl bottom drop as well, and what that's going to do is give that little Xing effect as we work through the design. So I'm going to take my thread and needle, and we're here at the top. We're going to go the whole way down to the bottom. I like this because it reinforces that thread along the exterior and really makes that squared shape super effective. Sewing down towards the bottom then, you're going down the whole line of seed beads. You want to come out through the bottom here, and we're coming out right through the pearl. Right through the pearl here, we're going to set up another pearl. So when you look, it's very, very simple. We're just going with 1 11/0, 1 pearl, followed by 1 11/0 seed bead. Then I'm going to go and continue sewing through the whole exterior, sewing first, pulling up that next pearl. And you can do a teardrop here. You can really change up what you want that look to be. And then as I sew, move that starter thread out. Once again, I'm getting back to the top, back to that 8/0 seed bead. So we kind of always start and end at that top 8/0 right here in the design. From here, we're going to add the top of our piece. The top of our piece is going to be very similar to the bottom, but instead of adding in a pearl, we're just going to add in some 11/0s and our wire guard. Our final step will be coming in and adding the pearl crisscrossed in the middle of our Tila beads. So here at the top, we're at our baseline again, and what I want to do is sew through the 11/0 seed bead right after the 8/0 seed bead. Coming out there, we're going to add 1 11/0 seed bead, and you can change it up. I'm going to change this up slightly. Then I'm going to add my 4mm crystal. Then I'm going to add my wire guard. So I'm using 1 additional crystal at the top here. You don't have to, it's up to you. Coming down the wire guard then on the opposite side, making sure my thread fits into that little wire guard hole area. And I'm going to go back through that same 4mm bead. What this is going to require so that it sits nicely is that I take my fingers or my needle nose pliers and just ever so gently squeeze that wire guard together so that way it comes more to a point rather than that horseshoe U shape. Make sure you get rid of all that extra thread that might be showing. Grab 1 more 11/0 seed bead and then go to the opposite side of that 11, 8, 11 and sew back through those 3 beads. And what that's going to do is bring that wire guard and that crystal right to the middle of the design. See how it sits there? From here, I'm going to reinforce that, going back up through the 11, back up through the crystal, all the way around the wire guard. Anytime you're using a wire guard at the top of earrings or pendants, go ahead and reinforce. Get a second strand of thread. Think about it as your clasp area and get that second strand at least of thread through there. Come down through the 11/0 on the other side, and then once again back through that 11/0 and the 8/0 seed bead to bring it to center. From here, our original starter thread is hanging out in the middle. So once we have the top of this earring finished and you've brought your thread and needle down through that 8/0 seed bead, what we're going to do is get to the middle of the earring. So we're going to go down through the 3 11/0 seed beads that sit after that 8/0. We're going to go down through the Tila bead. And then we're going to reverse the thread, stepping down this time into the bottom hole of that same Tila bead. And then we're going to go through the 4mm bicone. Pull that nice and tight. And what we're going to do is see how that doesn't want to kind of sit naturally. We are going to force it to have that natural sit by adding in some 11/0s and our pearls. So I'm going to go in here, grab my pearl. I have 1 11/0 that I'll be adding, one pearl that I'll be adding, another 11/0 after the pearl, and then I'm going to go through that 4mm that sits below, going through the same side. So my thread's coming out of the left-hand side of the bicone above, and I'm going into the left and out the right of the bicone below. From here, I'm going to grab one more 11/0 seed bead, go back up through that same pearl, give a nice tight pull at this point, making sure that your 11/0s kind of sit to the side there. Grab one more 11 coming out of the pearl and go back through that bicone. Pushing that 11/0 right down into that empty space. I'm going to reinforce this one more time, doing the exact same thing. So through the 11/0, through the pearl, back through the 4, and then back up to that 4mm. And then we're going to tighten up those Tila beads one more time, taking our thread and needle around that interior Tila area. So you can decide when you are wearing the earrings or putting them onto your ear wires if you want the pearl to sit in the interior or if you want the pearl to sit up. You're just going to kind of bend your Tilas that way. I want to go back through that 4mm bead now, tighten that up a tiny bit, take that thread there and just pull it up. And now once again, we're going to go back through that interior row and really pull up on our Tila beads so they sit framing out the pearl right in the middle. If you want to, right here before the 11 to make it stick out even more, before the 4, add an 11/0. Directionally, that'll just pop it in there. Add one 11/0 into the next Tila bead, and that will help. You don't have to do that if you don't want that much of a seed bead crowding look. That is completely up to you. Back when you get to the top, do that same exact thing, adding an 11/0, going through that 4mm, and I should have already added that 11/0 if I was going to do it here, but I'm going to do it one more time, so that's going to require me to take another trip around my Tilas. Once I get back then to the beginning here, I'm going to simply take my thread end and tie those two thread ends together. So just a little trip here around my piece. You can go back through those 11s if you want. And this will finish up then your beautiful Helen earring. So the only thing I have to do is make my matching one and then put on my ear wires. Back up here, we're going to tie off that thread. Notice on the other side I just skipped that 11/0 seed bead. My thread naturally came out. That was totally fine and cool too. There I have this up at the top. Then once again, when you get that three-dimensional look that pearl sits up in that nice, almost Victorian look, pull your needle and thread out. Push that thread toward the back of the project. Grab your starter thread, also push that to the back of the project. See how it's sitting towards the front? Push that to the back. Once that pops out the back, we grab our thread ends, tie those two together. It almost looks like a cathedral window to me. Tie that one more time, two more ties, up to you. Nice and tight. And then once again, just grab your thread burner. Once I grab my burner here, I burn down those thread edges towards the back of the project where you're not going to see them anyway. Grab your ear wire. I'm choosing to use stainless steel. I've been using these a lot this season because if you're doing any gifts or gift giving, those are always a great option, so you make sure everybody can wear them. Open that up, slide on your earring, close that up, and your Helen earring is ready to go. Thanks so much for joining me in creating these Helen earrings. Remember, if you do need any materials, go ahead and look at that link below. Don't forget, if you've made any modifications to the supplies, comment below and help out the other Potomac beaders that are watching this video. As always, thanks for creating, and stay tuned for the next inspirational design.